Alright folks, let's look at our long tail cast on. It's a very versatile cast on used for a lot of different kinds of projects and is probably one of the most commonly used. Once you learn it and get the trick of it, you'll probably be using it for a lot of your projects. You're going to want to start with a long tail, as the name suggests. We're not going to start right at the very end of the yarn. We need to let a long tail because we're going to be using both the tail and the rest of the knitting yarn to make the cast on. So first we want to start with a loop. We're going to make a little slip knot here. Let's do that again. I loop the yarn around my thumb and then pull a loop through there. And that I'm going to slip over the end of my needle here. I'm just going to use one needle for the moment. And then I'm going to make sure that's nice and snug because that's going to be my starting point. So that's actually my first stitch of the cast on. Now I've left a really long tail here, as the name suggests, and it's going to be 2 to 3 times as long as whatever I want the circumference of my item to be in the final knitted form. So if you're knitting a hat, you can wrap that yarn a few times around your head to make sure that you're getting that right circumference. It's best to err on the side of too much yarn rather than not enough. I'm going to show you 2 ways to do the long tail cast on. First, let's do the typical way, which is to hold both strands of yarn in our hand at the same time. I'm going to take my pinky here, scoop underneath, and then dive my pointer finger and my thumb through the 2 strands and pulling that out like a V. So I've got that V here with my thumb, and the yarn, both ends are secured in my fingers there. Then I'm going to come underneath with my thumb here. See, I've got that thumb making a loop there, just like I made the slip knot to cast on for the first stitch. I'm going to dive my needle through that loop, and then at the same time I'm going to pick up the other strand from my finger. There we go, and I've got a second stitch now. I'm going to make sure that's nice and snug. You can readjust your finger position at any time if it starts to feel loose. Oh. Let's make sure I got the same one. Yeah. And then let's do the second time. So let's go underneath the thumb loop there, and then scoop up behind and tighten. And again, underneath the thumb loop and tighten. Underneath the thumb loop and tighten. Underneath the loop for my thumb, scoop and tighten. Underneath the thumb loop and tighten. Underneath the thumb loop, scoop it up and tighten. So there I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches that I've cast on. Now there is a second way to do this involving 2 hands that's a little bit easier, especially for kids. And in this method we're going to put one strand of each in each hand. So we've got our long tail in one hand and the rest of the working yarn in the other hand. I'm going to do the same approach with my thumb on the one hand. I'm going to loop the yarn around my thumb like that. Still going to scoop the needle through, and I'm going to wrap around with my other yarn, and then I'm going to pull that thumb loop over and then tighten like that. So let's see that again. I make the loop with my thumb, put the needle through the loop. With my working yarn, with my other yarn, I wrap the loop, and then I pull the thumb yarn over top. One more time. Loop with my thumb, needle through, wrap it around, and then pull the loop over top. One more time. Thumb loop, needle through, wrap it around, and then pull it. So the trick with both is you're making a loop that you're going to put the needle through and then pull the other strand of yarn through that loop. So let's go back to the one-handed method there. See, I'm still grabbing that stitch through the loop that I made with the thumb. So effectively, I'm knitting the first row with this cast on. I'm not just using one strand, I'm actually using two. So there's your long tail cast on. It's very versatile, and I hope you'll use it in a lot of projects.